your city. Gonna play our guitars and sing you a country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin yang, come along.
Well, come on along. Welcome into Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Hope your weekend was great and your week's off to a great start, and we'll do everything we can to help you with that. Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief's box as always.
That's right.
Hope things are going for you. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Any big games over the weekend?
Nah, pretty boring.
Lots to talk about coming off of Super Bowl Sunday. Huge win for Indiana in men's basketball. Women's basketball, that a good win for them on the road. Great weekend of sports. And it's not freezing. My goodness. Before we get into all that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this fourth day of February 2019. New Super Bowl champs as the Patriots defeat the Rams 13-3 last night. Wide receivers for the Patriots, Julian Edelman named MVP. Big weekend for Indiana, as Jim mentioned. Men's basketball gets a road win, 79-75 at Michigan State. Romeo led the way with 19 points. Indiana women's basketball also off the schneid as they too get a road win, 82-78, that game at Nebraska. And 2019 offensive tackle from Pennsylvania, Tim Weaver, commits to Tom Allen and IU football over the weekend. Those are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this February 4, 2019. For more information, go to thedailyhoosier.com.
Big Monday as always for you here. Sammy Jacobs will be on the program from Hoosier Huddle. We'll talk a little football and talk about some of those recruits. Drew Davis from Peaks.com. We're going to get caught up on any recruits that were in action over the weekend. And, of course, we'll talk to our good friend Don Fisher, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers. If he's got a voice left, my God, I wish to gosh I could have heard that broadcast of him doing that. We may have to pull up a few calls off of YouTube for that. That's worth listening to because, man, I can only imagine how incredible that had to have been.
I haven't seen any Don Fisher calls yet, but I know a lot of people online are calling for him to give us the highlights with Don Fisher over him.
Well,
I had an uncle who was listening to the game, and he was like, I don't know that Don Fisher is going to be able to complete this game. He's not going to have a voice left.
I didn't hear a minute of it, but I can only imagine. And I had to email him about something over the weekend. I said, if you've got a voice left Monday, it's going to be fun. But, I can only imagine because that game, it was close the whole time, so that's going to keep you. That's going to keep an announcer straining his voice to begin with. Then for it to go to overtime and to pull out the win, man, I bet his vocal cords were on max usage. Looking forward to talking to him as always. It's going to be a lot more enjoyable than it has been over the last 6 weeks. However long that losing streak existed.
Feels like 6 weeks.
Shocking that Indiana cannot beat Rutgers, but they can knock off the number 6 team in the country, coached by Tom Izzo at East Lansing. Without Joanna Morgan, by the way, for most of that game. What a shocker. What a great, great effort by Indiana. Huge win. And speaking of big wins, as bad as their season has been here with this losing streak, they now own wins over a top 15 Louisville team, a top 10 Marquette team, and a top 5 Michigan State team. The last one being on the road. All those are quadrant 1 wins. They've got a nice little resume, other than 7 straight losses to teams they shouldn't have, and losing some of those to teams they shouldn't have lost to. But I think that's all over. They can overcome all of that. The next question people are going to, they still make the tournament? Can they get in the tournament? Yeah, they can get in. Yes, but they have to play. The key is, to me, how they respond to this game, that win. You got to come out firing. You cannot come out and lay an egg against Iowa. You come out and lay an egg against Iowa, that win against Michigan State means nothing. I don't expect that. I expect them to come out and play and win. I think that there was so much gained in that game besides a win. The guys that we have been looking to for something else performance-wise, that has not been there all year long, was there. Everybody contributed. Fitzner hits a three-pointer. He contributes. Demezy didn't have that many turnovers. He contributes. Devontae Green, Al Durham, all important. Justin Smith.
Can't forget Deron Davis.
And I was going to say, and I don't know there's anyone more important than Deron Davis. The man, it's like Lazarus. He rises from the depths of death and comes in. He was not even expected to play in this game. He was expected to be parked for a couple more weeks to try to get over these injuries. And look at him lumbering in off the bench. He's like Kirk Gibson coming in the World Series and hitting a home run. Man, that was Davis of old. That was Davis against Marvin Bagley III last year. Deron Davis is getting his confidence back.
Yeah.
And Deron Davis with confidence, he's a dangerous man.
Played 25 minutes on Saturday. He had played 27 minutes in the entire Big Ten season.
It's crazy. And he was supposed to be out for another 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It's all fun. At least it's a lot more fun to talk about.
Absolutely.
We had and after the game with Todd Leary at Bubba's 33 the other night, we had a great time. Thanks a lot for everybody that came out and that watched or listened online. A lot of fun. Todd really enjoys that. I'm looking forward to doing a lot more of that.
A lot of Hoosiers there on Saturday.
Oh, man. Biggest crowd. Great basketball day. What a day. Yeah. But Louisville played at 2, Kentucky at 4, and Indiana at 6. Those are Louisville played North Carolina at home, got it handed to them, kind of like they handed it to North Carolina and the other way around. Kentucky pulled out a huge win for them over Florida. But none bigger than the win Indiana pulls out at Michigan State. So improbable. And Indiana had lost Juwan Morgan early in the first half. He goes down with a shoulder injury. He got locked up in a loose scramble for the ball, and his arm he looked like it was an MMA armbar. I was waiting for him to tap out.
Not good. But apparently he's okay.
I've heard that he's okay. It didn't look terrible. It just looked like it was stretched maybe. A little surprised that he couldn't come back in. But that may have been the impetus this team needs more than anything. Because these other guys had to step up. And they did. They did. I mean, Justin Smith, everybody was talking about Justin. He had a nice night. He had a double-double. He's not the one that sticks out to me most of all, but he certainly put up a lot of shots.
Well, and he had that big fingertip block at the end of the game.
Huge.
I think that's why he sticks out in so many other people's minds.
Huge, huge, huge. Huge. 5 players in double figures. Balance. Points off the bench. That was gigantic. I think Indiana had gotten... I know they had two bench points the game before. I don't know they had any the game before that. The game before that, I think it was also 2 or 4. So they had 28 bench points. That's getting production from people. Man, oh man, did they ever. I mean, Romeo led the way with 19 points. He was struggling. Not only did they lose Juwan Morgan, at one point, Romeo was 2 of 12. He ends up 6 of 18 on the day. But he's able to knock down some big threes. He goes 2 of 5. Al Durham hits 3 out there. Devontae Green hit 3. He was good from outside. He hit with 3 of 4. 4 of 8 on the day. He had 11 points. Deron Davis, 4 of 8. 12 points. Very efficient. 4 of 6 at the free throw line for Deron Davis.
Was huge.
Big time. came at the right time. Holy cow. But and then speaking of free throws, Michigan State, 8 of 22 for 36%.
Don't tell Tom Izzo that. They missed the front end of 3 1-1, so they were actually 8 of 25.
Oh, wow.
He said that so many times in his press conference after the game. Tom, you all were 8 of 22, 8 of 25. Missed the front end of 3 1-1s.
Well, you can't miss something you didn't shoot.
But yeah, just unbelievably lucky for Indiana, for Michigan State to shoot like that and give Indiana a chance to win. I mean, Indiana earned it. They went out and won that game, but Michigan State.
Well, it's just ironic that it came at the hands of Michigan State at Michigan State. They'd only won there twice in 30 years.
Yeah.
3 decades, folks. So they're averaging 1 win every decade there. And I'd mentioned to me, I'd said that Archie may disagree, but I think this is the biggest win of his career. And someone posted, well, you do realize he took Dayton to the Elite Eight. Yeah, so it's the Elite Eight.
What do you get for the Elite Eight?
It's a mid-major win. Okay, it's cool that you took a mid-major to the Elite Eight. It's cool, but it ain't the Final Four. That's not huge. I mean, it's nice, but, dude, he just, at this time of his career where Indiana is right now, and this is Indiana number 1, first of all, at Indiana, in the Big Ten, which is the toughest conference in college basketball right now, and they are at their toughest that they have been in 15 years. This team, top to bottom, is unbelievable. So at this stage, in the midst of a 7-game losing streak, with some people was ridiculously calling for his job already, but to go up to Michigan State, a place where Indiana has only won twice in 3 decades, in 30 years, and to beat a top 5 Tom Izzo Michigan State team, that's a win to me. And to do it without Juwan Morgan, that is huge. That, to me, that's the biggest win of his career, because this could be the catapult, the impetus for the rest of this season. This could be what spurs them forward. Because I got news for you. They were in a tailspin heading south. Nowhere near the NCAA tournament. They have a shot because of this win. They still have a shot. They got to get some wins now. And the schedule's set up for them in their favor. They have 6 of their last games at home, as opposed to the 7 of 11 they played on the road. It could not have come at a better time. This team needed a bolt of confidence.
Yeah.
And to get it on the road, to come back home, wow, huge. Now, how they respond to this game against Iowa is big. They've got to come out swinging. They need to come out swinging. Not coming out just margin. They need to come out swinging. They need to put that fear into Iowa that, oh, man, these guys came off of Michigan State. That wasn't no fluke. They came to play.
Yeah, and I brought it up a little bit last week, but the calendar turned into February, and this is generally at Dayton where Archie's teams turned it around and really started to play well together. If Indiana can do that and start playing well together and find that chemistry that they had at the beginning of the season, this is a team that could still make a little bit of noise in the NCAA tournament. Now, do I think they're a Final Four team? No. But they can make some noise, ruin some people's days.
Absolutely. And what are all those people that calling for Archie's job going to do now?
Right.
Holy moly, that's kind of put
Step down.
That kind of put a wrench in their little deal. Had another post yesterday about Devontae Green. Someone said that he should be making a public apology for whatever it was that he went through to the fan base, because he owes the fan base an apology. I told them they're out of their damn mind. I mean, I didn't say this, but I mean, they're out of their damn mind, in my opinion. You want to demand a public apology from a kid? What the hell is wrong with you? A little draconian, don't you think? Why don't we just draw them out and quarter them? Flog them? I'm just shocked by the lunacy sometimes of people. Yeah.
And I get the point, though, on the other side of that he was trying to make in terms
Of what, a public apology? That a kid owes him a public apology because he accepted a scholarship to Indiana? Because that's the point that he was making. Because he accepted a scholarship, he's basically owned because people like him contribute to those scholarships by buying tickets.
I wasn't talking from a fan perspective, though. I was talking more of as the player perspective. I understand what the fans were saying, though, demanding an apology, because that is an opportunity for Devontae to grow moving forward as a person, not a basketball player.
So he needs to apologize publicly to grow as a person.
I don't agree. That's not what my take is, but I understand why somebody on the other side would say that.
That they need to do this publicly to grow. They don't need to do it to their parents and to their teammates and their coaches. They need to do it publicly. They need to embarrass himself publicly. That's what you're saying?
Like I said, I don't agree, but
I don't care if you agree or not. You're saying it. So is that what you're saying? Is my question.
I mean, I think there is an opportunity there for Devontae Green to
once
be able to grow.
Once again, I'm going to ask you the question: is what you're saying?
Yes.
They need to do this publicly.
Yes.
So they need to do it publicly to grow.
Yes. To save arguments, yes. That's not what I think personally, but I understand where somebody could think that. And publicly is.
Oh, I understand where they can think it too because they're ignorant. That's completely understandable when you have ignorant people to say ignorant things.
Yeah.
But to demand an apology from a kid because they owe you, because they're on scholarship, they owe you because you buy a ticket and you buy some popcorn? Get the hell out of here.
I just don't know.
Get the hell out of here with that.
I just don't know that it was ever about the fans because.
It is about the fans because that's what the statement was about.
Oh, okay.
This was a fan making a statement demanding a public apology, saying he owed the fan base an apology.
Gotcha.
He doesn't own the fan base, Jack. They don't own him. I don't care how much damn popcorn you buy. You don't own the players. These kids are not being paid. Yes, they're getting a scholarship, but they're performing a service for that scholarship. And their duty is to their teammates, their coaches, and their parents. That's it. They don't owe you an apology. They don't owe you anything. That's just a little ridiculous in my mind. More than ridiculous. But a lot of great stuff to get to. A huge win for Indiana this weekend. The women win big, too. That's a big win for them over Nebraska on the road. The Super Bowl, we'll talk a little bit about that, not a lot, but that was the lowest scoring Super Bowl ever. That blew my mind, man. The Rams, they're holding the Rams down. I couldn't believe it.
So boring.
And of all teams, and of course New England wasn't exactly laying the points down either. I mean, what's the Rams been lamented for all season? Not having a damn defense. Am I wrong?
Nope.
And they shut down Tom Brady and the vaunted New England defense for most of that game. I mean, of course, New England shut them down more so, but the fact remains that I can't believe that the defense that LA Rams came up with, but they couldn't score any damn points.
Hard to win, can't score.
You got that right. Hey, we got a lot more coming up on the program today. As I said, Sammy Jacobs from Hoosier Huddle will be with us. Drew Davis from Peegs.com. And we've got the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher, to talk about that huge win over Michigan State. All that and more coming back right here on Indiana Sports Beat. We're back after this.
Days when you wish your bed was already made. It's just another manic Monday.
This is Jim Coyle. When I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday. Starting off the week, hope it's a good start for you. Jim Coyle sitting in. Joined as always by our good friend Sammy Jacobs from HoosierHuddle.com. Make sure you check out that free Indiana content there for IU football. Sammy, how are you?
I'm doing pretty well.
Yeah,
how are you?
Good than the alternative, better than the alternative. Great, I'm great. Great weekend, lots of action. A lot of fun things going on. Big win for Indiana basketball, the Super Bowl. A boring Super Bowl. I didn't hardly, I'll be honest with you, I didn't watch a lot of it, and I fell asleep way before it was over.
Yeah, I watched until New England picked off that pass down inside, I think their own 10.
About 4 minutes
then
to go.
I turned it off, yeah, about 4.5 minutes to go, so.
Shocking to see how the Rams were just shut down offensively, man. What a job that New England did on the defensive end and just shutting down that vaunted offense.
Yeah, well, they have a pretty good defensive coordinator in Brian Flores, who's going to be the head coach of the Dolphins, getting announced here probably this week officially, and he's done a heck of a job up there. And then you have the greatest coach of all time in Bill Belichick, and you can give him 2 weeks, and he could draw up a scheme that works as well.
Is you think Josh McDaniels is waiting for Bill Belichick to step down so he can become head coach of the New England Patriots?
I think that was probably part of the deal that brought him back to New England after he was named head coach of the Colts. But that's just an assumption.
Yeah, I mean, it stands to reason that is why he'd go back and hang out there because everyone else keeps moving on. But a lot of good things going on for Indiana football as well as they continue to add names to a roster that is blossoming.
Yeah, they picked up an offensive line commitment on Saturday in Tim Weaver. He's a 3-star prospect out of Pennsylvania. Everybody's saying that he's a late bloomer. He's super athletic for an offensive lineman. Now, I don't know the level of competition he's playing, but if you go watch his huddle video, he's consistently, 10, 15 yards downfield, mowing people over, and he could pull. He played tackle in high school. A lot of the scouting reports are saying he's going to play on the inside at guard, and so he can pull. He's athletic. I believe he's 6'5", 285 right now. So you'd think he could be get into that 305, 315 pound range, and still keep some of his athleticism and would be a good. He's a good piece of clay for Coach Hiller and the coaching staff to work with and develop into a Big Ten lineman.
In comparison to years past, and I know that the recruiting has just been going phenomenally well, but comparing to teams in the past, how much better is the recruiting right now? I mean, it's not just better; it's way up there across the board from what I'm seeing. They are really doing a great job of getting good pieces in all of these different positions. I mean, it's not just certain areas that have been elevated. They are really elevating the recruiting across the board, and from what I'm seeing.
Yeah, they're currently ranked, or as of last night, they were ranked 41st nationally, 10th in the Big Ten, and while 10th in the Big Ten, really doesn't excite a ton of people, that these recruiting rankings are so close. They're right in the middle of the Big Ten that it's, maybe a half a player or, a class ahead of them has 25 guys and IU has 20 and things like that. And then IU, Jack Tuttle's not listed in those recruiting rankings either. So it's their recruiting philosophy is, we'll go get the best in-state guys and try and get the best in-state guys and then, head down south and find these players who maybe are a little under-recruited. Maybe they've beat out some big-time schools for players as well, and then maybe players who need a year to develop, and it seems to be working. Now it has to start translating to wins in the field. In football, you need some senior guys, so you need some time to develop guys, so we'll see. But the recruiting philosophy, I think, has changed under Tom Allen. They've started peppering the South a little bit, a lot more, actually, and that's really, really going to help the talent. And then if you could land, I think IU had 3 or 4 of the top 11 guys according to 247 Sports out of the state of Indiana. And when you could do that, then you've got a good mix of quality players from in-state and then quality players from down south, which is such a hot recruiting area that you're bringing more talent in.
Absolutely. And they go out, and we've been anticipating the hire of the offensive coordinator for some time, and they come in with DeBoer, which to me that looks like a really good hire. He's a young and up-and-comer. He's been successful wherever he's been. They had to go out and actually pay somebody for this role, and they did that. Obviously, the noise made it back to the ears of Fred Glass that the people, the natives were restless. They wanted some action, and he allowed Tom Allen to go out and get probably the best candidate he could get for this position, and it looks like it's going to be a good hire. I like the hire. I like his youth and exuberance, and most importantly, the success that he's had before coming to Indiana.
Yeah, Indiana made a sizable investment into its football program, paying him a total of $800,000. There's some funky stuff in there as well, as far as giving him extensions, and so $800,000 is about the going rate for an offensive coordinator, and it's you care about your football program. If you're going to play a coordinator, close to $1 million to come in, and then IU fans are always going to be a little bit restless. We saw it with the basketball program losing 7 in a row, but it was something that needed to happen regardless of fan reaction. You saw the product on the field. They did not put up enough explosive plays. They didn't take care of the ball, and they didn't put up enough points, obviously. So this is something that had to happen, and I think he's a good fit. He's won everywhere he has been, and as Tom Allen said in his press conference when he introduced Coach DeBoer, he wanted to find himself on the offensive side of the ball, and I think what that meant is find somebody who has a track record of rebuilding offenses, rebuilding programs, and taking them to heights that they either haven't seen or haven't seen in a while.
And I saw you had a nice piece about talking about Indiana and their offensive ID and what will that be, and that's a big question in a lot of people's minds, because there's a lot of good parts, a lot of pieces for him to use, whether it's the running backs room, options at quarterback. You've got great receivers. Hopefully they can build up the offensive line, but the specialty pieces are definitely in place for that. But that offensive ID, what they're going to be like, that's a great question.
Yeah, their offensive ID, the scheme is going to be whatever he decides it's going to be, but he wants to be physical. At Fresno State last year, 3 of his running backs had at least 70 carries or more, which should work at IU as well. You've got a really nice running back room coming back. He'll use, it looks like he puts the best players on the field regardless of positions. If a running back can play in the slot at receiver, they'll do that. He uses tight end a lot. They take care of the ball. That was one of the things in the preseason that Tom Allen needed to, was one of the deciding factors on making Peyton Ramsey the quarterback, and they really failed at that last year. I believe Ramsey threw, off the top of my head, I think, somewhere between 12 and 15 interceptions. That's just not going to cut it. At Fresno State, the quarterback last year threw 25 touchdowns, 5 interceptions. They took care of the ball, and they're going to create explosive plays. They ran about 8 fewer plays per game than IU. They averaged 2 yards per pass more than IU did last year, and I think he said that's the key to the game: explosive plays, taking care of the ball, and if you do both of those things, you win more times than you lose, and that's the ultimate goal when it comes to that. So he seems like a really good fit. Bloomington we'll see what his offense looks like in the spring in terms of personnel and scheme a little bit, hopefully. But it wasn't he won the press conference. This is a great hire. This is, you go back and look at his track record, you look at his offenses, watching Fresno State, you see what they did last year, you see what he did at Eastern Michigan. He's won, 3 national titles at NAIA. So, this wasn't one of these, his resume wasn't great, but, he had a great quote in the press conference. this was just a good hire. And while he did well at his press conference, it wasn't a dog and pony show.
Well, that's always a great start. So you've got to get off to a good start. But I think that from the responses I've seen, Indiana fans are happy with this hire, and I think they should be. I think Indiana, because there's been too many times where Indiana's just not made good hires and things, and you know it, and you're just left shaking your head. And this isn't one of those. I like it. I think that they did a good job. Tom Allen is really working this program to build this program up, and I tell you, there's nobody that was at more of a disadvantage than when he started, and he's doing a hell of a job right now.
Yeah, and I think Fred Glass met with the Board of Trustees last week. I forgot which day, but following the Twitter thread that was there, he said that, although he's not happy with 5-7 and 5-7, the trajectory of the program is going in the right way, and that's why he has faith in Tom Allen and all of that. Now, he also stated that the goals were to, consistently qualify for bowl game, eventually win the East, and represent the Big Ten in the Rose Bowl, which it's going to take some time to do that, and a little bit of luck as well, especially in the Big Ten East. But he believes in what Tom Allen's doing, and if you're one of these people who believe in recruiting rankings and all that stuff, that the trajectory is going up. You've been in the 40s the last two recruiting classes. Maybe IU can jump into the 30s with a strong finish here in the next couple of days. But the results have got to be on the field, and all these good feelings that IU fans are feeling now, if, let's say Ball State goes up 3-0 on the first drive, everybody might be jumping ship by then, or, let's say they lose to Ohio State in a heartbreaker and all those things. There's going to be tough times this season where IU's fans' faith is going to be tested. But overall, this program is a lot better than it was, 10, 15 years ago.
Absolutely, and we'll look forward to that and look forward to talking to you again at the end of the week, see what happens, what has transpired as we get closer to the signing day. Sammy Jacobs from HoosierHuddle.com. Make sure you check out free IU coverage at HoosierHuddle.com. Sammy, thank you, sir, and have a great week.
Thanks, Jim. Enjoy the rest of the day.
You betcha, brother. You too. A lot more coming up on Indiana Sports Beat today. We've got Drew Davis from Peaks.com. We're going to join us, talk a little recruiting, basketball recruiting, and Don Fisher also on the program. Stay tuned. Much more coming up on Indiana Sports Beat. Back right after this.
I said, the boys are back in town. The boys are back in town.
This is Jim Foyle, and I'm out on the road covering the Hoosiers. You can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area, or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. This hour is brought to you by Sweetland Waste and Removal Service, a homegrown company serving Southern Indiana since 1995. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday, post-Super Bowl day. Hope everyone's feeling great, had fun. I know Roberta says she's sleepy. She had too much junk food at the Super Bowl yesterday. I'm fine. I got plenty of sleep. I was asleep early.
With the heartburn I'm dealing with today, I think I would have traded that in for sleep.
I got nothing. Hey, we got a text into the show. Feel free to text us, 812-269-6367. Questions, comments for anybody on the show today. We got Drew Davis coming up yet. Don Fisher will be joining us. But they said, guys, really happy with the win. But before I get too excited, how much of this was Michigan State not playing well and IU having their best game of the season? Well, there's some of that, but that happens. That's what happens, and you have to have all of that stuff to have an upset at the level. This proportion. This is huge. I don't think people understand. This was an Indiana team that couldn't beat themselves. Their play was so atrocious. Before the game, someone asked me, we're sitting at Bubba's 33 in Clarksville, waiting to do the postgame show with Todd Leary, and a patron says, do they have a chance? And I said, none. Zero. I gave them 0% chance. I mean 0. Then they lose Juwan Morgan in the first half. But they kept hanging around.
Then they go to overtime.
Because they did everything that they have not done this year. They played hard from the word go. They gave effort from the word go. Everybody was playing their role. There was not this individualistic stuff going on. Devontae Green was locked in. Deron Davis was locked in. Justin Smith was locked in. And I think they all really got locked in when Juwan Morgan went down. Romeo stepped up more at that time. But to answer the question, I think there's a lot of all that stuff. But you have to have that. But the thing is, Indiana had more than one opportunity to fold. They did not. They kept coming. They kept doing the things they needed to do. They got shots from people they needed to get shots from. They got threes from people. They hit 50% from behind the arc.
Say it again.
50% from behind the arc. 10 of 20. Unbelievable. It was nuts.
Yeah, I don't know, I might get ridiculed for saying this, but I don't know that it was Indiana's best game of the year. When I think back to the game against Marquette, I thought was probably a little bit better, but I think by far
Best game of the year.
It was Indiana's, the game they've hustled the most, the game they seemed like they wanted to be on the floor, the game that it seemed like they wanted to be out there and win. We haven't seen that in weeks. So from that perspective, I think maybe it was their best game of the year just because they gave us something that we didn't think they had anymore.
Michigan State shot 22 free throws. Indiana shot 23 pointers. Indiana hits more three-pointers than Michigan State hits free throws.
It's a good night.
It's a very good night. Michigan State helped Indiana out quite a bit right there. 8 of 22 at the free throw line at Michigan State. That doesn't happen very often. But Indiana also, the resilience blows my mind because they won the second half. They outscored Michigan State 38-35, and then they go on, of course, in overtime to do that. That shows want to, effort, and desire. Bill texted in a couple things. Well, Bill texted in, how about Al Durham knocking down free throws after dislocating his finger? Hell yeah. I saw there's a clip of him on the sideline, Tim Garles trying to get it back in place, and he's over there just wincing in pain. You can tell he's screaming because Justin Smith is sitting next to him, but he's talking to somebody. But something gets his attention, and he turns to his left, and then he looks down, and he's like, oh, hell. You can tell he's like, oh. It's a great clip. Justin Smith has turned to his right talking to somebody, and then he hears this primeval scream. He looks to his left, and then looks down at his finger, and he's like, oh, shit. Ah.
You hate seeing that. It's funny, though, that he was in more pain with his finger than you saw Juwan in with his shoulder.
Terrible. But he comes back and plays and hits valuable free throws. Yeah. And then SWAT team pest control player of the game, Justin Smith. That's funny. That's funny. Have to come up with there you go. There's something to come up with. How about Justin Smith with that fingernail block?
Thanks for not trimming them, buddy.
What game was it where just getting the finger of the Chicago Bears kicker? Who was it? That their kick just they thought they just missed the kick, but actually somebody got a finger on it.
Yeah, it might have been that Parkey kick.
Just enough to alter that shot. So, yeah, you're right, Joker. He is the SWAT team pest control player of the game. How about that? That's a new something to keep in mind. I like that. But he had a double-double. He had 13 and 10. Like I said, they had 5 players in double figures. Romeo Langford didn't have a greatest night, but he hit free throws. He was 5 of 6 at the line. Al Durham, 3 of 4 at the free throw line. Justin Smith was 1 of 3, so that he hurt him. But Deron Davis, 4 of 6, and his were huge.
Yeah.
Fitcher was 1 of 2. Anderson missed his only free throw. No, that's a three-pointer, my bad. Only had 4 guys go to the free throw line.
What was that percentage?
Their free throw percentage was 68%. They were 13 of 19.
Not bad.
It's not bad. They just Justin Smith shouldn't have missed those. He's got to go 2 or 3 at worst. I mean, missing 1 is human. But anyway, they did a great job. They did a great job across the board, but mostly because of the effort. They win, even if they don't win that game. Because before the game, and I'm talking with Todd, and I'm like, they've got to compete in this game. Well, they were competing right, and then they never stopped. They could have folded when that game goes to overtime. Again, I said that's it.
Yeah,
they lost.
You and I both thought their chances were done.
Yeah, you go to overtime on the road when you have the chance to, and that's because they had a shot to win it. And I'll be honest with you, I was not happy at all with the shot that Romeo took for that last shot. I didn't understand it. I didn't understand why he did not attempt to drive to try to draw a foul, get a shot close in. But he takes an NBA type 3-pointer with not much thought, and it's not close. Very, very, very bad end to that. Had that come down, had they lost that game, that would have been a point of contention. But they had every opportunity. When it went to overtime, no, you're on the road. You're down Juwan Morgan. You got no chance here. Once again, they rear up and they say, nope, not going to happen today. It's the most improbable win. It's the biggest road win for Indiana since 1982. 1982. I don't know how many years that is. 37?
A lot. Yeah, 37.
It's a long time. They've only won there twice in the last 30 years. You beat a top 5 team on the road when you couldn't beat Rutgers, when you lose at home to Nebraska. That's stepping up.
Yeah, and hopefully, if nothing else, this game does give the team some confidence that they can go in and compete with any team in the Big Ten. I mean, I think I would like to think that they know that already, but we haven't been seeing that. Now they got the win, got off to Schneid. Perhaps they'll go in and beat a few more teams.
We'll see. That was Zach that texted in asking about getting excited whether it's the best game of the season because with IU playing their best game of the season. I think that they need to build on this, Zach. I mentioned this before. They've got to build on this. How they respond to this game, to this win, is huge. It's everything in the world. How they play, winning against Iowa is the most important thing, but how they play against Iowa to me is important. It will set the tone. You cannot in any way fall back into these old habits that they had been under. They have to give the same effort they gave at East Lansing. And I'm not saying everything's got to be the same, perfect, but you've got to give that effort. You've got to give that effort from here on out to have a chance at moving forward because this is what they can do. This is what they are capable of. Now that they've seen that they're capable of this, which they should have seen it a long time ago, but whatever happened, it went away.
Yeah, and I think you've got to have the whole – when you think back to the end of the Michigan State game and how Indiana won and who should get all the credit, you can't come up with one guy. I mean, I've struggled with it since Saturday trying to figure out, well, who should I give credit to for winning that ball game? But guys like Justin Smith, guys like Deron Davis, Al Durham, Romeo Langford, all of them pop into my head. Even Rob Fennessy, who we've barely mentioned him at all, he did a lot of nice things to help Indiana secure that win. So I think moving forward, you've absolutely got to continue to get production from every player that comes into the game, and I think Indiana's going to be okay.
Oh, I do too. I mean, they have a chance to really turn the season around. Yeah. I mean, they can go from the depths of despair with a 7-game losing streak, heading on a freight train to the Big Ten basement, and they have a chance to U-turn a train. There's a commercial. It's hard to turn a train. Well, that's not how it goes, but it's hard to turn a train. It's hard to stop one. Well, it's damn sure hard to turn one. And they had the opportunity to turn that train around. And they took a huge step in that on Saturday. I mean, there's none bigger. That's pretty impressive. But again, they have to follow up on that.
When we were talking at the beginning of the year how Indiana needs to steal some road wins, did you ever think that this would be one of them?
Hell no. I mean, again, someone asked me before the game. I gave them zero chance to win that game. Zero. Then Juwan Morgan goes down.
Negative 20.
If somebody would have come up to me and said, I'll give you 20 points right now and bet you $1,000 against just 100, and I would not have, I would have lost. That's how improbable that was. It's not about having faith. That's improbable. And it certainly was. We've got a lot coming up on the program today. We've got Drew Davis going to come on. We're talking about some recruiting from Peaks.com. Also, the voice of the Hoosiers, Don Fisher's with us. Stay tuned. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle back with more right after this. This is Jim Coyle. When I'm out on the road covering the Hoosiers, you can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch specials. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. Everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own lunch, coffee is only 50 cents.
To your city,
Best place to start your
gonna
day
play
at
our
Billy Joe's
guitars and
Gas
sing you a
Food Mart.
country song. We'll all be flying higher than a jetliner. And if you want a little bang in your yin-yang, come along.
Welcome along to Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle here as always. Thanks a lot for taking us along wherever you're going, whatever you may be doing. Thanks a lot for taking Indiana Sports Beat along for the ride. Justin Kalen high atop the crew chief's box as always.
That's right.
Hope your day's off to a great one and your weekend was good too. Lots going on, lots to talk about. Super Bowl, Indiana basketball, a lot to get to. Don Fisher's on the show, like I said. We'll also talk to Drew Davis from Pigs.com. Catch up on some recruiting information. Before we get to all that, let's get to the headlines with Justin.
All right, here are your Daily Hoosier headlines for this February 4th, 2019. There's a new Super Bowl champ in town as the Patriots defeat the Rams 13-3 last night. Patriots wide receiver Julian Edelman named MVP. Big weekend for Indiana as men's basketball gets a road win 79-75 at Michigan State. Romeo leads the way with 19 points. Indiana women's basketball is also off the schneid as they too win on the road 82-78 at Nebraska. And 2019 offensive tackle from Pennsylvania Tim Weaver commits to Tom Allen and IU football over the weekend. Those are your Daily Hoosier headlines on this February 4th, 2019. For more information, make sure to go to thedailyhoosier.com.
And welcome back in. Yeah, huge weekend, sports weekend. Of course, the Super Bowl yesterday. I didn't see much of it, I'm going to tell you. It was kind of boring to me. I can't believe how good of a job the Patriots did defensively against the Rams, shutting that offense down and taking them out of the game. 13-3, lowest scoring first half. It was like, was it 3-0 or at halftime? Crazy.
Yeah, I think so, yeah.
Unbelievable with these two teams that the score was 3-0. Mind-boggling, but New England does enough defensively. The Rams had two different touchdowns that was in their hands in the end zone passes that they couldn't pull in, but oh, well, there was that. I was asleep before the end of the game and didn't miss a bit of it. Enjoyed my sleep.
It was really disappointing. I mean, not only was the game super boring, like we didn't think it was going to be, didn't think the commercials were all that great.
Well, they weren't.
Halftime show wasn't all that great.
You're exactly right.
I mean, it was very underwhelming.
The first thing I said when the halftime show was done, I was like, that's it.
Yeah.
Very weak. The sound was terrible.
Right.
There had to be a sound problem. From the very start, I'm like, you can't hear the main mic. It was like you were walking by the stadium. That's how it sounded. It was terrible.
Agreed.
And just not a great halftime show to me. I mean, that was weak. Man, they could have done so much better. Yeah. Who's your picks? We got to come up with some better halftime shows.
Right. Go back to the old school people.
I mean, that was just weak. I thought it was weak. But I'll tell you what wasn't weak. Huge win by Indiana basketball over the weekend up in East Lansing as they traveled to take on the number 5 Spartans. Brought them down. Unbelievably, inexplicably. Most improbable win in a long time for Indiana basketball. And I'll tell you, I posted, I think that Archie may disagree, but I think this is the biggest win of his career. To me, this is much bigger than winning at Dayton to go to the Elite Eight. At a time right now, Indiana was in the midst of a 7-game losing streak, people calling for his job, which is ridiculous. But the fact that it was going on, and this team that had so much had been expected of, which expectations were probably a little too high, but to be in the midst of a 7-game losing streak and that 7th loss being against Rutgers and to go on the road to knock off a Tom Izzo team ranked is crazy. And to do it without Juwan Morgan. They just did everything that they hadn't been able to do of late. They got production from the bench, 28 points off the bench. They didn't fold. They made plays when they need to make plays. That's something they had not done all season long. Looking forward to talking to Don Fisher about that today. He'll be on the program around 7:40 or so, or 1:40 or so. Into the show, I meant.
Good call.
40 minutes past the hour. What I should have said. I shouldn't have said that. I always confuse myself when I do that. But Drew Davis also, we're going to talk a lot of recruits in action over the weekend. Big games. I know Floyd Central destroyed Bedford.
Did they?
Beat them by like 30.
Wow.
Big Hoosier Hills Conference matchup. I know Evansville Wrights was in action. Christian Lander. Those guys. So a lot going on over the weekend. A lot of people a lot of recruits we'll talk to Drew about that as well. But you can also hit us up on the text line, questions, comments, 812-269-6367. Make sure you like or follow us on Facebook. And if you can't catch us live, you can always catch the rebroadcast of the show on a lot of different places. Apple Play, iTunes, Google Play, iHeartRadio, Spotify. Of course, you can always go to thedailyhoosier.com. Sign up. It'll be sent to you. IndianaSportsBeat.com as well. But questions, comments on any for our guests or anything that we're talking about, feel free to fire those along. The women's basketball team, a big win for them as they go on the road and beat Nebraska. So they continue their good season as they compete in the Big Ten. But getting back to the men have a chance to turn this season around unbelievably in short order, no less. Of course, they had lost 7 straight games, and to end that up in East Lansing was a shocker. But nonetheless, it's done, and they can continue that as they welcome the Iowa Hawkeyes in this week. But before we get there, Archie's talked about the big win over Michigan State. Let's hear what Archie had to say.
Big statement, then I'll call on our guys and we'll get out of here. All right.
Well, tremendous win for our team. I thought guys really stepped up. We really played hard and competed. And, for the first time in a while, we really shared the ball. There was very little possessions where we were dribbling and just dribbling. So we got a little better in the last couple of days. We were able to get a little fortune with Michigan State's free throw shooting tonight. That probably doesn't happen, very often, especially at home. But we'll take it. It's been a long 3 weeks here, so it's good to feel that winning feeling again for the guys. And hopefully this can carry over into the back half of the conference where we can play with some confidence.
Okay, we'll go Zach then Mike.
That was just his run-of-the-mill general. Afterwards, usually it's, I'll tell you what it's been for the last 7 games prior. We have to congratulate, fill in the blank.
Yeah.
They played a great game. We weren't able to do things we needed to do to stop them tonight. That's what you'd been hearing for 7 straight games, but finally that changed.
Yeah, and one thing they really did well in the Michigan State game was defensively. I thought this team did a very nice job. Archie touched on that after the game as well.
We talk about our team defense being a confidence builder. I thought especially in the first half, we really answered the bell there. Transition didn't get crushed. They're so hard to deal with their inside attack and Cassius with his push. But we did a pretty good job there. And the big deal was being able to use your defense and rebound the ball. And we held in, there. So that was a check. Offensively, it was about moving the ball and don't let it stick. And I thought that our team shared it. We were able to get 20-some assists. I'm not sure if we've had 20 assists in our last 3 games, to be honest with you. And in our togetherness, in this type of environment, a lot of ups and downs, a lot of runs, adversity. We were back to a togetherness feeling. In the timeouts, the huddles, our young guys were engaged. And, to be on this stage, hopefully, like I said, hopefully this is a confidence builder if we just stay with it and continue to get better.
They absolutely looked like they were together, and that had been a huge problem for this team. They had not been together at all. Not only that, they had not looked like they enjoyed playing together, but that changed Saturday up in East Lansing. It was a group that looked very, very much in concert with one another. The players were in tune. They were playing as one, and it was fun to watch.
Yeah, and that seems like something that was preached to them all week by the coaching staff, because Romeo actually talked about that after the game as well. Just the tight huddles. Archie wanted them in tight huddles. He wanted them to be together on the floor so they could try to pull off the wins. Here, Romeo had to say.
That's one thing Coach was harping on was by talking about tight huddles and togetherness, and every time there's a dead ball or a foul game, maybe we come in and talk and basically give each other confidence and make sure everybody's on the same page for the next play, next possession.
Chemistry-wise, did anything?
Romeo Langford there talking, but yeah, they had, and in doing the post-game show with Todd Leary, he talks. He's got something that he really considers important. It's called positive touches, and that incorporates so many different things. He talks about it could be just when there's a player exchange when someone's coming in and going out. how are they? Do they slap 5? Do they stand there and say, hey, man, I got so-and-so, make sure you do this or that? Is that positive reinforcement coming back, or at the free throw line, or whatever it is? Those positive touches, and they hadn't had that. They weren't having fun together. They weren't together. And that changed Saturday at East Lansing. Well, it obviously changed before then, but they had obviously gotten – Archie was able to get that word through to them during practice. And it could not come at a more critical time because, of course, they lose Juwan Morgan early in that game. And it really, really served as an impetus, I think, for that team coming together better, faster.
And Juwan was a big part of that togetherness, I think. I mean, on the bench, he came back out to the bench, and he wasn't just sitting there watching the game. I mean, he was coaching those guys. They were coming off the floor over to the bench. Juwan would talk with them, especially a guy like Deron Davis, Justin Smith. I saw him talk to them a number of times throughout the game.
And I saw, it's funny you say that, I saw Deron mention the fact that every time he came out, that Juwan was over there telling him, hey, you got to keep at it, you got to do this, he's doing this, you got to try. He was coaching him up that whole time, every time he was out of a practice. So maybe that was part of the reason why Deron played so well, that Juwan was stepping up as a leader. Something that I had been calling for a while, that I know that's not his style normally, but it's tough. You have to. It's your responsibility. And he came through with his responsibilities on Saturday when he was out. And hopefully that he can use this, that Juwan can use this going forward in his leadership skills, and he can see how important they are, that he imparts this onto these guys, because it had an effect, obviously. It was obvious enough that Deron spoke about it, but it was also obvious enough to the naked eye that we could see that. And that's what I had been calling for some time. Juwan Morgan to step up. He is the de facto leader of this team, whether he wants to be or not. Yeah. Doesn't have a choice. He's got to do it, and he did it. So everybody did exactly what they needed to do in this win, including the guys that were hurt. Juwan Morgan. Al Durham coming back into the game with a dislocated finger, and I got news for you. I know how much that hurts because I've dealt with it. It is unbelievably painful. And to have it put back in place on the bench, you can see him withering in pain when Tim Garl was doing that. But he comes back, hits big free throws, plays another part in the game. That's giving your all. And these guys gave everything they had. It was a great, great effort on Saturday by everybody on that team.
Yeah. And the thing with Juwan is perhaps he went into leadership mode on the bench because he realized, hey, there's nothing else I could do for this team. Let me try to be that positive leader that they need, and it worked out. Now, when he comes back, hopefully that is against Iowa on Thursday, hopefully Juwan's able to do that on the floor at the same time as playing.
Well, I got news. That's a question I'm going to ask in the press conference. I really believe that, because he had not been that vocal leader. They didn't have one. We talked about that. They didn't have a leader. Just didn't have it, and you have to. There's just not an option. You have to have a leader. Yeah. And like I said, whether Juwan wanted it to be or not, tough. You are the de facto leader of this team. You are the senior. You are the senior starter. It is up to you. You have to not just lead by example, but you also have to lead verbally. And he did a hell of a job of that with Deron Davis, and it showed. It showed in so many ways, but that's the effort they have to maintain to finish this season out.
And having Deron and Devontae back really helps.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, not only does that, but having them back and able for Deron to contribute unbelievably. Deron was not even supposed to be back for another couple of weeks. Yeah. And you're not going to expect he's going to give you a lot, because you've lost him for a while, and he's got to get up to speed on conditioning, and et cetera, et cetera. Nope. He played a lot. He played more minutes Saturday than he played in how many, all the Big Ten season?
Almost, yeah.
Crazy. Nuts. And was just as productive as can be. You could tell he's got a renewed energy. He feels himself. Looked a lot like what we thought we'd see from him pre-injury. Yep. Great performance by all of them. It was really, really good to see those guys give that effort, and to be rewarded with a win. Not a moral victory, but an actual victory. and one of the toughest places to play in the Big Ten. Hell of an effort.
Josh texts into the show, says Archie's best game plan was fouling Nick Ward every time he got the ball.
Well, that ain't wrong.
Worked out.
It did, unbelievably, because normally that's not going to happen. Normally, Michigan State is not going to shoot 36% at the line at home, of all places, but they're not going to shoot 36%, period. But they did, and it worked out. And I hope it works out again, whatever it takes. But just the overall effort by this team is what was great to see. The guys contributing, like I said, 5 guys in double figures. But I'll tell you one that was not, and that's without Rob Phinisee having much impact on this game. He had virtually no impact on this game. He's been struggling. He fouled out. He had 1 shot that he missed. He had 2 rebounds, and that's his entire stat line. 0 for 1, 2 rebounds, 5 fouls. That's your starting point guard.
No assist.
You cannot have that. Oh, he's got a big fat goose egg.
No turnovers either, though?
No, 0 turnovers. Well, he's only in the game for 18 minutes. He didn't have the ball in his hands a lot.
At least he had that going for him.
Well, he wasn't in the game a lot. Your point guard can't be fouling out. It's youth. That's a freshman. But it's a little late in the season to be doing that. It's a little late. Justin Smith with a double-double, 13 points and 10 rebounds, a huge day for him. It took him 17 shots to get there, but that's okay. That means he's being aggressive, which is something he had not been. But he picks up the slack with Juwan Morgan. He goes down. You just can't say it. How about Jake Forrester? Did you see the dunk?
Oh, Jake.
Man, Jake Forrester, he only had 2 points, but they were an emphatic 2 points. And that's what I've been talking about all year as well. That sends a message.
Yeah.
Do you think that having a guy come off the bench and throw down a 2-handed slam on your home court does not send a message?
A guy that you likely didn't even game plan for?
Exactly. A guy that's coming off the bench, he's going to pick up some scrub minutes. He just threw down in your house. You think that doesn't send a message? Well, we got a lot of messages to send coming back. Drew Davis from Peaks.com will be joining us. We'll also be talking to Don Fisher on the program. Stay tuned. Back with more here on Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle right after this. This is Jim Coyle, but I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers. You can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for a happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
Today's guest is brought to you by Reynolds Family Dentistry of Solersburg. You need $1 million smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you'll get with Reynolds Family Dentistry. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat. Jim Coyle with you as always. Joined now by our good friend Drew Davis from Peaks.com. Drew, how are you, sir?
I'm doing good, Jim. How about you?
Great weekend for sports over the weekend. A lot of action, a lot of high school games, a lot of college games. Of course, Indiana, a huge win over Michigan State in East Lansing. A very improbable win, I'll add to that, as they do so without the services of Juwan Morgan. Crazy that they're able to pull that one out, Drew.
Yeah, pretty stunning, honestly. It was one of those moments where, I kind of sat there after the game and I was asking myself really how it happened and how Indiana was able to beat Michigan State on the road. And for Indiana, they're looking to make this a springboard that kind of jolts them to the finish line of the season. That was a team that needed some confidence. They were really struggling in that area, and there should definitely be a much-needed boost in that area for these guys. And, we'll see what they're able to do with it for the rest of the year.
Absolutely, and to do that, I was already thinking about whether or not this team should pack it in and plan for next year, start really trying to develop Jake Forrester and Demezy Anderson and guys like that. But they give that effort, and man, it's like, wow, where the hell did that come from? And of course, a lot of people are going to ask, where has that been? Well, it's just been I think the only answer from my standpoint is it was a cadre of things. And we've talked about it so many times, the injuries, the youth, the this, the that. So whether or not, it doesn't matter where it's been, but it's there. But they have to sustain that and maintain that effort going forward.
Right. The effort was superb, honestly. From start to finish, Indiana played about as hard as they could. I feel like every guy contributed, and every guy, at least made some type of impact on the game for the most part. And you look at a guy like Jake Forrester. I think he only scored 2 points, but he comes in and gives you something, and gives you some energy, and you get Evan Pitzer knocks down his first 3, since December. So you can get some contributions from your bench with Deron Davis and Devontae Green playing really well. And but that was really big for Indiana, honestly, because Indiana has gotten no production out of the bench, and it's been hurting them. And to get the 28-16 edge on bench points, I'll be honest, I was pretty surprised to see that.
Oh, shocking, but great job. And then speaking of whether or not this team should have, I thought that they were at the point where they may want to pack it in and look to the future. A lot of future players out there over the weekend playing in the high schools, in the games, a lot of great games over the weekend. I'm not sure where all you made it to. Who are some of the players that you got a chance to see this weekend?
Keon Brooks had another, solid weekend. He took home the MVP of the Bob Kirk Invitational out in Maryland as La Lumiere, remained undefeated. Now, La Lu didn't get through this weekend without having a scare, but they escaped out of that semifinal game against Wasatch Academy, and they came back somehow to win by 1 point and remained undefeated. And it wasn't pretty, but all that matters is how you managed to pick up the win, and that's what they were able to do. And you think back to Thursday night, and you look at Trace Trace Jackson Davis having a huge game against Warren Central. Missed a couple dunks and free throws, but he still ended up with, I believe, 31 and was the best player on the floor and against a very good Warren Central team. And then you look back at Armand Franklin. Armand had a near triple-double, played really well. So you look at all the 2019 guys, and all three of those in-state 2019 guys played well this weekend.
And then, of course, there's a lot of guys that Indiana is chasing, or not chasing, but looking at that's in the recruiting mix. They're in that bowl of ingredients. Who had the weekend for the underclassmen?
For the underclassmen, I would say Caleb First is one of the guys that had a big weekend, and he had a number of things he did well, and the win for Blackhawk Christian, they cruised a big win over Fort Wayne Luers, I believe, and Caleb had 16 points and a number of rebounds, and it's certainly interesting to see his development. And then another underclassman that played well, were not underclassmen, but a junior that played well was Jaden Ivey from Mishawaka Marion at 30 of their 54 in a loss, and he continues to score the ball very well, and emerged as one of the better players in the in-state 2020 class, and he's a guy that I fully plan on keeping an eye on, and I think it'll be very interesting to see what happens with him over the next 6 months or so in his recruitment.
Yeah, a lot of great big games in high school basketball over the weekend as the girls' play is in sectional, but the guys are still playing the regular season, finishing that out. And I know that over in the Hoosier Hills Conference, Floyd Central had a big win over Bedford North Lawrence. New Albany won. And then out down in Evansville, there's a lot of great games in that part of the state as well. You got Christian Lander, one of the great players down there, playing for Wrights. And just a lot of exciting high school basketball this time of year.
Yeah, there's a lot of good players, especially in Southern Indiana right now with the 2021 class. You have a guy like Trey Kaufman at Silver Creek that's sort of emerging and kind of establishing himself on the scene here, and you have obviously Christian, and you have a number of other guys like Colson Montgomery at Southridge, or even some smaller school guys that might be a mid-major like a Blake Sisley at Heritage Hills. But for Southern Indiana, that 2021 class is it's going to shape out pretty good for this part of the state.
Trey, Justin Kalen here, texting into the show. Tim texts in and says, Archie went to check out 2019 recruit Trey Mitchell. Is this because we are not getting Brooks, or does he know someone is transferring to open up another spot next year?
I think it's more just planning, to be honest. I think it's looking at a situation and saying, all right, well, let's make sure we have something lined up here in case, we do need a front court piece for next year. I think that's kind of what Archie's looking at it and saying. And I think, that's the one thing you could say about the staff is, they never they've never really had a situation where they're not prepared. They like to have a backup plan, so to speak, and that's exactly what I think this is. And if something happens and you lose a front court piece, you're in there with Trey Mitchell, and then you have a chance to get a guy to come in and help you next year, or even maybe. And if he decides to reclassify to 2020, then maybe even a year down the road, and that's a weak class, so that's something you definitely have to be prepared for.
I think it's a great question, but also I do think that there's always the possibility of a player transferring. I don't have a player that I'm throwing into that. I have at times, but I think it's hard to tell. But I think Drew's right. You always have to be ready. You always have to have that short list of players because I think Indiana gets Keon Brooks, but there's still the chance that doesn't happen, and you have to be prepared for that. Because you have to fill that spot.
Well, I don't think it necessarily hinges on Indiana getting Keon Brooks. I don't think, Keon's a small forward and Trey Mitchell's a big man, but I don't think that necessarily matters. I think it's just in case someone is were to transfer. And like I said a couple weeks ago on the show, I expected it to be bigger than a 3-man class in 2019. I expected a big 4 and potentially maybe even 5, but we'll just have to see how that shakes out. But I'll be very surprised if Indiana brings in only 3 guys in this class.
And I agree with you. I'm thinking that it's a 4-man class at a minimum. But who that 4th and possibly 5th guy could be? As a guess, what would be your best guess? And as far as fit for what this team needs, or who some of those players could or might be?
Honestly, I don't really have a guess because I feel like some more things have to play out, and we're still early, in that process. But some guys that it could be, as we see, they looked at Mitchell. They're obviously doing background, doing some work there to see if he's right for the program, and see if they want to, go any farther with that. But you look at a guy like Harlan Beverly at Montverde, that's a guy that's on their radar as a combo guard. He's a 2-1 that is a real solid player. He could give them, a guy that could take some of the ball handling load, and he's not able to be a straight point guard, but he can play the 1 at times, and he's also a good shooter. And from what I've seen, he does a good job putting the ball on the floor and finishing all around the rim as well. He's a guy that I think could help Indiana a good bit, but that recruitment's still kind of in the early stages, so we'll have to see what happens. But right now, those are kind of the main guys. But I'm sure some grad transfers or somebody will emerge as well. But only time will tell on that.
Talking with Drew Davis from Peaks.com. Point guards, to me, is an area that they definitely have a need. I mean, you've got Rob Phinisee, but Rob Phinisee a freshman, still going through some freshman growing pains. He's actually struggled here of late. Didn't play much in the game against Michigan State. Had very, very little production in that game. He took 1 shot that he missed, and he fouled out with 2 rebounds. And that's all that's all the production he was able to give. You're going to have Al Durham, and Archie has shown a propensity for running a 3-guard offense. So getting another point guard to me is something I think that is probably critical to them.
I would agree with you. Believer that you can never have enough ball handling in point guard play. It wins tournaments, and you can't do it with 1. And right now, Indiana really only has 1 true point guard on the roster. And so you look at the change that Archie Miller made in that game on Saturday that I thought was a good change. Prior to Devontae getting suspended, Devontae Green had been doing most of the ball handling when he was out there. Those were, appear to kind of flip the roles between Al Durham and Devontae and played Al Durham more as the primary ball handler with Devontae as the secondary ball handler. But I thought that was good. Al, he's a better decision maker. And, when you ask Devontae to put the ball on the floor, start dribbling around, making decisions, that's not his best thing. He's better playing off the ball and knocking down, shots, and that's what he wants to, do. That's what his strengths are. So I thought that was a good move. And, you look at a guy like Al Durham, better decision maker. He's proven that. He went, 6 games or so last year without committing a turnover, and now he's a better shooter this year. So I do like that, and I want to see how it's going to be moving forward, but I think it's a good move.
Absolutely, and in Indiana going forward, their next game up will be Thursday against the Iowa Hawkeyes, a team that is in history past has been the salve that Indiana needed, but also has been the team that has stopped some streaks of Indiana's in the past. But I think that Indiana is coming home at a perfect time. If they can parlay that win at Michigan State, they can run off a string of wins to end this season to put themselves in a unbelievable, but back in a position to make the NCAA tournament.
Yeah, so, prior to the win over Michigan State, Howard Schwab, the vice president, had Indiana in the Final Four ed, so I'll be interested to see, when he comes out with his updated predictions on, later today. I'll be interested to see where Indiana goes after, the win. But, I think Hoosier fans, their attitude going into Assembly Hall on Thursday is going to be a whole lot different now, They would have been a lot different losing 8 straight, coming home and playing Iowa, but you stop the losing streak and you get a top 10 win, and it's about as good of a win as probably, anyone in the country has this year in conference play. And now suddenly people are, upbeat. They want to see the team play, and now maybe the guys can, channel that into something positive moving forward and springboard them to a strong finish to the season. We'll see on that. But I think the whole magnitude of things just changed, and I think that just shows you what one win was able to do and just how big that was for Indiana.
Oh, absolutely. I think they can. They can use it going forward. Drew Davis from Peaks.com. I can't thank you enough. Look forward. We'll talk again at the end of the week.
All right, man. Sounds good. Have a great week, and I'll talk to you on Friday.
You as well. Drew Davis from Peaks.com joining us, filling us in on some recruiting information, a little bit of basketball news as well. Brought to you by the good folks at Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg. Serving the Hoosier family needs for over 30 years, let Doctors Jay and Roger Reynolds take care of your family. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry of Sellersburg, bringing it to you. That's lots more coming up here on Indiana Sports Beat. Don Fisher joins us next. Stay tuned. We're back after this with more right here.
Those old crazy dreams just kind of came away now.
This is Jim Boyle, and I'm not on the road covering the Hoosiers. You can find me at Bubba's 33 on the northeast side of I-65 at Veterans Parkway in Clarksville. Bring the team in for that post-win meal in the family dining area or just meet friends for happy hour. Bubba's has bold burgers, hand-tossed pizzas, mouth-watering wings, and a list of select local craft brewers for the coldest beer in town. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Burgers, pizza, beer.
Many medicines used to treat colds and flu contain acetaminophen, a pain reliever and fever reducer found in hundreds of over-the-counter and prescription medicines. But taking too much or more than one medication containing acetaminophen per day can damage your liver. So always read the label and don't take acetaminophen if you drink 3 or more alcoholic drinks every day. To learn more, visit fda.gov/OTC pain info. A message from the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services Food and Drug Administration.
If you're a homeowner and have storm damage to your roof, you want a hometown contractor you can count on and trust. Brooks Roofing of New Albany has been doing quality work since 2006. Check out their work for yourself at brooksroofingin.com. No job is too big or too small, commercial or residential. Brooks Roofing is probably working in your neighborhood right now. Visit brooksroofingin.com or call 812-868-ROOF. That's 812-868-ROOF. Brooks Roofing, the protection you need when nature strikes.
We all want a winning smile for those championship photos, and that's exactly what you will get at Reynolds Family Dentistry in Sellersburg. Reynolds Family Dentistry has been serving the dental needs of Hoosier families for over 30 years. Let Doctors Roger and Jay Reynolds take care of your family. Just off of I-65 at 809 South Indiana Avenue in Sellersburg. Call 812-246-3368. That's Reynolds Family Dentistry, 812-246-3368.
All right, crew, let's get her dug.
Honey, you want to give me a hand? I'm planting that tree, remember?
No matter how large or small your digging project may be, no matter how urban or rural, you must always call 811 before any digging project. 811 is our national one-call number, alerting your local utility companies to come out and mark any lines they have near your dig site. You must call 811 at least 2 to 3 business days before any digging project, so you can avoid hitting our essential buried utilities. This includes natural gas and petroleum pipelines, electric, communication cables, and water and sewer lines. So before you do this or this, make sure you do this. For digging projects big or small, make the call to 811. Brought to you by Common Ground Alliance.
If you want to get your day off to a good start, then stop at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs. While you're filling your gas tank, you could fill your own tank with a hot breakfast or try one of Billy Joe's daily lunch special. Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart opens at 5 a.m. and everything is made fresh daily. And if you bring your own mug, coffee is only 50 cents. And Billy Joe's also has free air. The best place to start your day is at Billy Joe's Gas and Food Mart on Highway 150 in Floyd's Knobs.
If you want the most comprehensive coverage of the Indiana Hoosiers, you need Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. Join us each Monday through Friday for interviews with the players and playmakers. Weekly guests like Don Fisher, Terry Hutchins, and Chronic Hoosier. We've got live reports from each game. No one gives you better coverage of Indiana athletics. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle is available on iTunes and Google Play. You can follow us on Facebook or at indianasportsbeat.com. Indiana Sports Beat with Jim Coyle. We don't miss a beat. Today's guest is brought to you by Bubba's 33 in Clarksville with hand-tossed pizzas, bold burgers, and ice-cold beer. Pizza, burgers, beer. Bubba's 33 in Clarksville. Welcome back to Indiana Sports Beat here on this Monday. Post-Super Bowl, hope you had a great weekend. A lot of things going on. The big Super Bowl game yesterday as the Patriots knock off the Rams in a boring game. Don Fisher joins us here in a second to talk some IU basketball and that big win over Michigan State over the weekend. Make sure you like or follow us on Facebook. You can find the show if you can't find it live. Of course, you can find it on Big X Sports Radio as well as WRF in Evansville. Big X, WXVW 1450, 96.1. Find us there as an addition to 97.7 and the Ref in Evansville. Joined now by the great Don Fisher. Don, anything fun or exciting over the weekend for you?
No, it was kind of a wild weekend.
Man, I said it's going to be so exciting on Monday if Don has a voice left to talk because, man, that had to really take a toll on it. Not only was it an exciting game, but then it goes to overtime.
Well, I've had a lot of rest for the voice here recently, so it didn't really take quite the toll that I thought it might, but it was really a fun game, and without question, a tremendously exciting ball game, and also from the standpoint of Indiana fans, one of great relief, to say the least.
Oh my gosh! But I can't imagine how happy for these players because they lose Juwan Morgan, and you're at one of the toughest places to play in the conference and in college basketball. But they never quit, and it took that, even though Michigan State was trying to help them but not hitting free throws. But they did not quit and had to battle, and they did, and got production from everybody across the board. What an incredible effort.
Well, and you think about what they went through prior to this Michigan State ball game, the 7 straight losses, the struggles that they had with their confidence, with their mental frame of mind in ball games, with the inability to make shots, with the struggles with injuries and with suspensions and all of those kinds of things, all of the struggles that this team was dealing with. To overcome all of those in a game like that against that team, against that in that situation, in that facility, away from home, having to generate all of your own energy, that type of thing, it was rather remarkable to say the least. And you've got to give these kids credit. You've got to give this coaching staff a tremendous amount of credit for hanging in there and keeping things together, trying to get these guys to understand what it takes. And in one fell swoop, they basically get it done. And then, of course, the adversity without Juwan Morgan for most of this ball game. And to have Deron Davis and Devontae Green, 2 guys who hadn't seen the floor in 3 straight ball games. And I had thought that I went back and looked at Deron Davis because I wanted to see how many games he'd actually missed because I thought he'd missed 5 or 6. Well, the truth of the matter is, he'd missed 3 in a row, but the 3 games that he played prior to that, he never played more than he played less than 4 minutes in all 3 of those ball games. In total, I think he had like maybe 10 or 11 minutes in those 3 ball games prior to the 3 games that he missed, and he missed the game prior to the game that he played for 3 minutes and 55 seconds. So, for Deron Davis to come back as he did in this ball game, he played 25 minutes, which is the most minutes he's played all season long. He goes for 11 points, which is his season high. He had 6 rebounds. I just was astounded that both Devontae, who came in and played really well when he was in there, along with Deron Davis, helped this team come out the victor. And without doubt, it was, I don't want to say a miraculous victory, but it was in the ballpark.
Absolutely, and you've seen a lot of these Indiana teams. And the thing that got to me, it's not that they beat the 76 Indiana team or anything like that, but it was the improbability of this win, of where it was at the time, what's going on. They've lost 7 straight, why they've lost those games, all those things. It was like an incredible perfect storm. And then to lose Juwan Morgan, and basically to not have Rob Phinisee. He was kind of non-existent because of foul trouble. He didn't really, was not able to produce a lot. So now you've also lost him, and to do what they did, it's just the improbability is just what still is just staggering to me.
Well, and when you look at it, this is the second straight ball game that Archie has kind of unloaded his bench in the sense of using a lot of different combinations out there. And of course, with Devontae and Deron both playing for the first time in 3 ball games, that was a big part of it. But you also had guys like Demezy Anderson and Jake Forrester, Cliff Moore even had a minute or 2 in this ball game. Actually, didn't have much. Evan Fitzner comes in and makes a shot. This is a guy that's been struggling incredibly so. Going into this ball game in just Big Ten contests, he was 1 of 16 from 3-point range, and he knocks down a 3 in the ball game. So you had contributions from a lot of different people. Even though maybe they didn't play the big minutes or a long time out there, there were contributions from so many different guys that you hadn't seen contribute of late. We talked about the struggles that this bench has had, adding to anything that the starters have been doing here of late. In this game, Indiana has 28 points from the bench, and obviously Deron and Devontae were a big part of that. But at the same time, again, these guys haven't been playing. So it was remarkable in that sense, and I think more than anything else, what I liked the best, and you've already alluded to it at the very beginning, the thing that I liked about this team the best was the fight. They never gave up, no matter what the situation was. They continued to battle out there, and we haven't seen that for a long time. We just haven't. During this 7-game streak, you could argue that we probably didn't have a single game like that. Where they battled no matter what the circumstances were, how much they were down. They battled like crazy in this ball game. To me, that's the biggest thing about this being a turnaround ball game. If they can maintain that fight, that toughness to battle through whatever situation and adversity they're dealing with, they've got a chance to go a long way here down the road as this season unwinds. And let's face it, there's no easy games in the Big Ten, and you can argue that Indiana's stretch of ball games has been a big part of why they got into that losing streak. But at the same time, they didn't handle it. And now, of course, they've got 6 of their last 9 ball games on the road, or at home, I should say, after playing 6 of 9 on the road. It's going to be very interesting to see how this all plays out, because now you've got to build on what you just were able to accomplish. And that's going to be a tough thing to do. And the first test, of course, is going to come up on Thursday night against Iowa.
Absolutely, and you just mentioned they have to parlay this into a good run, or otherwise that win is almost for nothing. But I think a few things came out of it to me, and one of it was the other guys seeing that they can and are a big part of this team, and they stepped up. And then with Juwan on the bench, to me, Juwan has not been the leader I think that he needs to be. I know he's not a vocal guy, but I think that it's fallen to him, or whether he wants it or not. But he stood up and he really accepted that role and was really in Deron Davis's ear in a positive way in that game. And Deron mentioned that he was really helping him, talking to him when he came off the floor. And I think that may give Juwan the impetus to really step up and be even more of a leader for this team.
Well, as you point out, he's a different kind of leader. He's not the get-your-face kind of guy. He's not one of those guys that's going to, challenge people out there, his teammates, that kind of thing. He may challenge them, but he does it in such a different way, in a much quieter way. Sometimes you just got to take the bull by the horns and get mad and get upset and and show your teammates that you're upset. I don't know that Juwan can do that. It's just not his nature, and he's a great kid, and he's really a good leader in the sense of how he goes about his business, as an example. But sometimes you need that guy that can verbally stick a needle in you to get you to wake up, and that's what I think has been missing with this basketball team. I can't argue that Juwan's the guy to do that. I'm not sure on this team if they have that guy. All I do know is that on Saturday, they showed that they've got the toughness and the mental fortitude to get the job done if they continue to fight. That's what we saw Saturday. That's what they've got to continue to do.
Absolutely, and they've got themselves in a position to where they're still in the NCAA tournament if they decide they want to be, because the schedule finishes out in their favor with 6 of 9 at home as opposed to so many road games. And there's some great wins already on their resume. That win over Louisville, that win over Marquette, and now the win over Michigan State. They've got a great resume they can add to, but they have to add to it.
Right, and there's no doubt they're going to have the opportunity to add to it because they've still got Michigan State again that they've got to play. This schedule is not easy, and then when you look at what these other teams are doing and how tough every ball game in this league is, and there may be games that there are blowouts, but then that team that got blown out comes back the next week and surprises somebody. It's that kind of league. It's that kind of tough. The Big Ten, I'm not an expert, but in my opinion, there is no league in the country that matches the Big Ten in any way, shape, or form as far as toughness from top to bottom is concerned. Maybe we don't have the one team or the two teams, although I think we've got 3 right now that are pretty doggone good at the top of the standings in Michigan, Michigan State, and Purdue. Those 3 teams are playing phenomenal, and they're tied for the lead right now. So it's going to be interesting. It really is. And it's going to be a lot of fun if this team plays like they did against Michigan State on Saturday the rest of the year.
Absolutely. Then tonight at 7 Eastern Time, you're back with Coach Archie Miller with the Coaches Show tonight, coming from the Holiday Inn up there in Bloomington.
Yep, we don't have any misses now for the rest of the season. Through regular season play, we will have a show on every Monday night. And, of course, it's 7:05 at the Holiday Inn in Bloomington. And if you want to make the drive up from New Albany or Jeffersonville, you can come on up. It's only about, an hour and 45 minutes?
That's it. Head on up and check out Don and Coach Archie Miller. But, yeah, you can do that during the taping. They have a live audience there, so they'd certainly welcome you in there.
Yep, we would do that. Next week, this week is fine in that regard. Next week, all seats are reserved for IU Sports Properties people, that they bring all the sponsors in to see the show, and so it'll be a packed house for that one. There won't be any seats available, but without question, the rest of the year and tonight as well, you can make the show.
And then, of course, this Thursday, the Iowa Hawkeyes come in. Indiana's got a late game. It's a 9 o'clock game, so Don and the crew will be on the air at 8 o'clock Eastern time, so make sure you catch them on both times. Don, I can't thank you enough. Always look forward to talking to you.
Thanks a lot, Jim. Appreciate you having me.
You bet. Don Fisher, the voice of the Indiana Hoosiers, joining us as he does each and every week. Brought to you by Bubba's 33 of Clarksville. Pizza, burgers, and beer. Great place to have food. Man, we watched the game there with Todd Leary and did the post-game show Saturday. What a great crowd.
A lot of fun.
Oh, it was
standing room only for a majority of the game.
It was outstanding. Fun time, and look forward to doing that again. But look forward to talking to Don. And the rest of the week, we've got a great show. Chronic Hoosier will be along tomorrow, as well as Mike Schumann from the Daily Hoosier. So we'll talk a little bit more about this big win and what Indiana's got to do going forward. So there's always plenty to get to. But that's going to pretty much wrap it up for us today here on the program. For Justin Kalen, I'm Jim Coyle, and I will see you on the radio.